Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I am reviewing Persona 5 Royale. If you guys don't know, Persona 5 Royale is a JRPG turn-based action-based game from the studio Atlas. So you guys hear me talk about Persona all the time. So when they announced that they were doing this, I guess a rematch is, I mean, you could consider it a remaster basically, because the original game was imported over from the West. It was on PS3 and PS4, so they basically made Persona 5 Royale, with the upgraded graphics. But as far as like graphics, there's like not too much of a difference. But before I really dive deep into the game, I want to talk about how from the original and this one, how it compares. There's not really too much of a difference graphics wise. Everything looks the same because it's basically like playing a animated TV show. To be honest with you, it's not like real life characters. It's not like I'm playing Resident Evil where you can see the faces, you can see sweat, dirt, their hair. It's not like that type of game, so it's like playing an animated game. It's like playing Cracker Rat. um just like but it looks amazing. Even the cutscenes, like compared to like Persona 5 the original one and this one, the cutscenes kind of look similar. I was still trying to look for like differences, even like textures, like walls and panels and paintings, they kind of look similar. Of course, it looks better, I guess, when you're playing on, because I played mine on a PlayStation Pro. So compared to the original PS4 and the Pro, you could see as it does look better, but it's not really that much of a huge difference. But before I really dive into that, um, I do got an unboxing coming out that's for Persona 5 Royale. I bought a couple figures. I'm not gonna spoil it, so be prepared for that video when that video comes out. But I cannot wait to talk about this game. But like I said, so just gonna dive right into it. Before I even like say all that, this is gonna be heavy spoilers. So this whole video is spoilers, because the game was already out for a long time. The original one compared to this one, even though there are some new things, kind of, but the game's already been out. The story's kind of similar to the original one, so this is just gonna be spoilers. So if you want to tune out, play the game, come back later when you finish the game or whatever. But like I said, it's not gonna be too much heavy spoilers, because there's gonna be certain parts that I left out. But I just want to dive focusedly on like the heavy, big impacts on the story or whatever. So if you guys don't know, basically you're this kid, this young kid who's a teenager. You're walking down a street, and in the dark, or in the night, and you see this guy like abusing this young girl. So you go over there to stop it. Your conscience is telling you to stop it. So they give you dialogue options. If you choose it, you say something to the dude, you push the dude, he falls on his face real hard. He cracks himself open, and he blames you. He's a big politician, so then he's gonna have the cops show up. He has the girl basically lie and tell you that everything he did was all your fault or whatever, and you basically get in trouble. So then you get locked up eventually. Then you get put on probation. So then you get sent to this cafe house where this dude is protecting you because you don't have your parents or whatever. So that's basically that. So then now the game really dives deep into it. They introduce you like a quick cut scene with you're back in the casino. If you played the original one, you guys would know what the casino is. So you get a quick flashback. But before all that, you meet Yeah, I'm skipping some things, but then you meet Morgana, which is the cat that's always with you. Um, One thing about her I noticed from the original and this one is that Morgana still, I don't know why they still implemented that. I kind of wish that they didn't, but she still stops you from going places. I understand it's to advance the story, but there's like a few times where I wanted to leave. You know, I had to go get certain items or whatever, and Morgana still stops you, and it kind of sucks. But you know, at the end of the day, you get used to it. You're fine with it, but I kind of wish that they would change that. But anyways, they kind of introduce you to this one mysterious character, which is I don't remember if she was in the original. I think she was, but I think she wasn't like heavy impacted on the story to Kasumi. She had like this cool cutscene in the casino, which looked pretty good as well. And then eventually leads on um to all the palaces. So when I talk about palaces, so basically when you go to sleep, you go into this little mindset, and then you end up in the velvet room. And at first, before I even say all that, it's like an interrogation. So it's like previously flashbacks, so it leads up to present time. So you're getting interrogated the whole time by a woman named Sai Najima, or Sai something. I forgot her name. I think it's Sai Najima. But anyways, so you're getting interrogated by Sai. So you basically have to tell some stories. At first, you know, I mean, if it's your first time playing it, you kind of want to be a douchebag because you don't want to be the rat or whatever. But once the story starts going on, you start to know why she's interrogating you, why you shouldn't be a douchebag. Even with Soljiro, which is the owner of the cafe who took you in. He's kind of like a douchebag at you at first, and then when the story starts advancing, um you get to know why he's like that. So at first, so when you first playing it, you kind of like, man, this guy's a fucking asshole. But then when as the story advances, you get to know why he's like that. But then, you know, so with the interrogation room, you meet Igor, who is the guy that's helping you. They call it rehab. So basically, you know, that's where you get your personas. You go there, you upgrade your personas, you meet the wardens, the two twin wardens. They're also there to help you out as well, and they introduce you to Arsene. Also in the first palace, you know, so once you get introduced to Arsene, they introduce you to contracts. You finally get to meet Ryuji and Morgana. You meet Ryuji early on. Like I said, just Ryuji's just a cool guy, so you really do like him. Um, then then they introduce you to like combat. So then, like I said, you get this weird app on your phone. That you down. I guess you're trying to delete it. It keeps popping up. When you run into Ryuji on the street, um, he presses the app. It takes you to this palace. So what palaces are is a cognitive world of a person, and you're basically there to it's like their distorted desires or whatever. So if that person's bad, he would have a palace. So what they would try to do is trying to change that person's heart or whatever. So then when now it comes into like combat or whatever. So with combat, there's like melee attacks, there's the guard button, there's the rush button, which I barely ever use the rush. It's just full on just attacks or whatever. I barely use that. SP and HP. SP is huge, especially later on in the game. Uh, you know, you want to get cool with some characters, which I'm going to point out a little bit later, that helps you build the SP. Soldier is one of those characters where you get cool with him. You can make coffee in the game. Coffee is like a huge thing in the game. It helps build up the SP because that's like your special attack. And you definitely need that, especially when as soon as you start getting stronger personas, you need SP as well as HP as well. So there's a a store later on that helps you build up HP, as well as a character as well that I'm going to talk about later on that helps you get items for SP and HP. But then you got weaknesses. So the other personas that you're facing, they're called shadows. So when you face shadows, they got weaknesses and strengths. So you get all types of things. You get psychic attacks, you get ice attacks, fire attacks, you get bless attacks, as well as curse attacks. So you get all these type of attacks. Some shadows are stronger to some of those um, attacks. Then you got some that are weaker to attack. So you definitely want to start to. Normally, what I do is I try to get personas that has a variety of each attack in that persona, so that and then you test it out. As well as you got characters that are helping you, like Morgana and Ryuji. Morgana is more for wind attacks. Ryuji is more for electric attacks. So if you got those two right there, you would try to get other attacks as well, since they already are like your main guys. I normally when I play my playthrough, I didn't really use Morgana as much, as or unless I was in a difficult palace where I was struggling and I needed a healer. I would use Morgana because she's basically a healer, but she is basically one-shotted, especially in the stronger palaces, because she don't have as much health in those palaces. But then eventually on, in that first palace, you get introduced to Anne. You get introduced to Kamashita, which is a total douchebag. He is basically molesting young girls, and treating people bad. So Ryuji hates him because he get into past fights with him. So then that's why he has a palace. So then, like I said, you eventually meet other characters in the game. Like I said, you meet Sei, you meet Mishima, which is he's like this weird kid at first, and then when you get to know him, he turns out to be pretty cool. I also introduces you to mementos. Now, mementos is gonna be real big in this game. You want to use mementos for grinding. You want to use mementos to get some items, as well as a difficult boss, what I'm going to talk about later on, which I had an absolute struggle with. But Mementos is pretty cool as well. And it also introduces you to a boy in white. His name is Jose. He's a character that helps you out. He could change the world to give you XP items. He could give you um yeah, XP and items. He can give you money, so you want to use him. You want to collect these stamps. So each level, it goes down to levels and mementos. So it has this one area, probably has 8 levels in the area. You have to find these stamps to help build up, give you more XP. Highly recommend grinding mementos, especially early on. Don't wait on mementos, because when you're playing the game, if you don't go to mementos real often, you can, when you eventually start getting on later on in the palaces, you can be getting destroyed if you don't grind mementos. You don't have to be in mementos all the time. You want to also use confidants. So people that you meet are called confidants. You definitely want to like try to build them up as well. So you want to do a mixture of both. You want to hang out with people. You want to increase your social stats, because they help out as well. You want to be purchasing items, but you also want to be at least save up like 3 days or 2 days to hit up mementos and grind up and build your persona so they can get stronger, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what's gonna help you battle. So that's what I did, especially in my second playthrough, because my first playthrough I was kind of careless. My first playthrough, when I played the original one, I was kind of careless, and then later on in the game, I hit a difficult point to where I was struggling at the end of the game to battle some of these stronger enemies, because I wasn't grinding mementos as much. So this time around, I definitely hit up mementos. So then, everything eventually leads on to the second palace, which is the Madarame Palace, which he's an art painter or whatever who's treating his people bad. He views them as pupils or whatever. The people that he interacts with, he basically confiscates art and basically forges art as well as yeah, just forgery on art or whatever. So they introduce you to to Sasuke, no Sasuke, which is end up being Fox in the game. He's one of my favorites as well. You know, he's pretty cool. He has this like a samurai persona or whatever. I did like him as well. He has a real strong ice attack. One of the cooler characters in the game.
Have you finally come to your senses? How foolishly you averted your eyes from the truth. A deplorable imitation indeed. Lest you part from that aspect of yourself. Let us now forge a contract. I am thou, thou art I. The world is filled with both beauty and vice. It is time you teach people which is which.
Very well. Come. Goemon!
Now I introduce you to the third palace. So basically, the third palace is like a Yakuza boss called Junya. You know, he's pretty cool. This palace, this is where things start heating up as well. Introduce you to like darts and pools, so it's like side activities you could do in the game. Then it introduce you to the one of the worst guys in the game, which is Akechi. Akechi is like this young detective that helps Sai out in the video game, which Sai is trying to get down to what's happening, why are people hearts getting affected, why they're committing their admitting to their crimes or whatever. So then he has like this grudge against the Phantom Thieves. For me, it says my second playthrough facing off against him. At the first playthrough, I absolutely hated him. This time around, I still hate him, but I try to get cool with him because he eventually ends up giving you a real strong persona at the end. So you want to be cool with him, even though you do know what's gonna lead up when you finally face him. But then, you know, so then you got Ryuji right there. Ryuji's known for having a real big mouth in the game. And then it eventually ends up meeting Makoto. So Makoto ends up tracking you guys down. She eventually knows who the Phantom Thieves are for doing some research. She's spying on you or whatever. But yeah, going back to Akechi, he's like the big like main focus on the game. Him and Shido, but I'm gonna talk about Shido's later. But Akechi's like this huge guy. At first, he's real cool, like he's real strong. He helps you out in the video, in the game. But eventually, he's gonna end up. You know, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But that was the third palace. Now in the fourth palace, you meet Fatsuba. She's like the leader of the Medjed, which the Medjed is a group, yeah, a group that just like basically is gonna link information because they know they're like a cyber group that knows who the Phantom Thieves are. So you got to try to track them down. Futaba actually helps you out, which ends up leading to her arc, and then her palace, because she has a palace as well. So you try to change her heart to make her good or whatever, which is like the desert palace. And it ended up being real cool. Had some real cool moments in there, and that's where I meant like where you get to know who Soldier Rev was, which is the cafe owner again. You get to know who he was. You get to introduce to Fatsuba, which is she actually hides in Soldier Rev's house because she's not used to the real world or whatever. So introduces her, so you try to get her out the house, especially when you take her heart. And she has a real tough boss scene, but it's a real cool battle in the palace. You know, I'll let you guys play it, so I wouldn't want to post spoilers on that. But you know, like I said, this is spoilers, but I'm not gonna post a video. You guys check it out for yourselves. It's a real cool battle scene with her as well. And it's like I said, if you're not prepared, if you're not grinding mementos, that palace might be kind of hard. In my first playthrough, it was kind of hard. That's what after this palace, things starts getting a little bit harder. So you want to grind mementos, get those high items. There's also a doctor called Takumi that you definitely want to get cool with. She helps you out as well. So you know, you want to go do her trials or whatever. Take whatever medicine that she gives you or whatever, because it definitely is going to help you out in the future. You know, she gives you items. She gives you these these SP patches that helps you gain SP going every time it's your turn in battle. So you definitely want to get cool with her. You know, like I said, you want to grind mementos, but you want to be cool with the other confidants that's in the world as well. But that was the fourth palace. Now down to the fifth palace is Kuzazao, and I'm probably butchering these names, but it's Alkimuro. He is Nor's father. Nor is a real cool character once you finally meet her, which is Haru in the video game. But she's actually really strong when you finally get in contact with her. She's real strong. I'm not gonna say how you get in contact with her because it's a pretty cool moment where Morgana flips out or whatever. So I'm not gonna say too much on her, but it's a cool moment when you finally get to meet her. That's what I mean, like when this palace comes around, and to me it was one of the hardest palaces in the game, especially if you're going in kind of undersized. You definitely want to definitely on this one I highly recommend grinding mementos a little bit, and you know, get your personas a little bit stronger, because these enemies are stronger and they're like it's like a robot palace or whatever. So there's some real strong enemies in that palace, and they are immune to a lot of these weaknesses. They're immune to a lot of your attacks, so they don't have too many weaknesses, but there are some weaknesses. Psychic attack is real big in this, so you want to keep Haru in the thing. You want to give her some of those upgrades or whatever, or those patches to help you fight, because she is one of the stronger ones. I use Ryuji and Makoto in this palace. I use more of Makoto, even though she is strong for herself. I use her as kind of like my healer. I try to help so she could help me. Ryuji has some real strong attacks, and I do like him because he has the lightning attacks, which definitely helps with this palace. But like I said, you want to start building up your personas by now. And then you finally get to what's happening around. You get down to what's happening with the shutdowns, with the mental shutdowns, the principal, which he was a horrible guy in the beginning. So I'm not going to talk about like each and every character as I talk about these palaces. But you kind of meet who these guys were. He was kind of a douchebag. He gets killed by a mental shutdown, which we trying to figure out what's going on. Then on this, like I said, this palace is real hard. Eventually, and there's a big boss battle at the end where it's like waves. So you want to be prepared for that as well with the boss battle, because there's waves of robots that come in, and then they get stronger. So because in the palace you're gonna meet these real big, strong enemy type robots, where they are like real hard, and you have to take them out in a group. So you want to, like I said, you want to build that psychic, because towards the end, a real strong one gets taken down by the psychic attacks. So you want to build up your persona so that they could get taken down, and basically all in one swipe, because they will run away, because there's like a countdown that goes on. I'm not going to say how that countdown happens, but the countdown goes down, so you want to be able to wipe them out as fast as you can, as well as another wave of another boss, a sub boss in the game, in that same battle. So there's like the waves of robots, the mini boss, the sub boss, and then the main boss. With the main boss, I guess since this is spoilers, I might as well say he can't be taken out in one shot, but it's a real hard palace if you're really underprepared. But that's the the fifth palace. So now with the sixth palace, you know, it's Sai Nijima's palace. So this is where kind of everything leads up to events as well. I think I kind of missed out on the fourth palace where I kind of or on the fifth palace where Akechi's in there, so he's starting to find out information on who the Phantom Thieves real are. He kind of knows. There's like a scene where you're leaving the palace. He kind of sees you, so he knows what's going on. So Akechi's doing his detective work because he is a young detective or whatever. So he eventually finds out. Soldiera eventually finds out as well who the Phantom Thieves really are, which is you and your crew of whatever. And then it gets down to Inside Palace is kind of tough at first. No, everything's kind of I wouldn't call it tough. There's some hard puzzles or whatever that if you're not really paying attention, you could get lost in the casino. But then, you know, everything starts to just goes to shit, man. Everything just goes. Eventually, so I'm skipping a lot of things. Makoto's persona finally transformed. There's like three stages. She finally transformed to the second stage of Johanna into Anat, which ends up being a real cool scene. But she finally transforms, which is, to me was real cool. So then you get onto the palace. You finally you do your objective. You try to go for the treasure. So once again, the treasure is something that's really important to that person. Once you take that person's treasure, they have a change of heart. That's where the calling cards come in. If you guys been paying attention, you guys will know that's where they especially I'm going to talk about that figure. One of the figures I had, there's like a calling card or whatever, which is pretty cool. But then eventually you get trapped in this casino. You're trying to escape it. That's where this cool scene of Kasumi comes in. It finally leads up to the current events that is happening. Everything's, like I said, going to crap. Akechi already knows. Like I said, if you get cool with him, he eventually once you do like this one thing, because you want to do his things real quick. As soon as he invites you out, you want to go to those invites. So then eventually one of those invites or whatever, I believe it's like because it's like 9 levels or whatever, so probably like seven time of going out with him, he invites you out to Mementos where you have a duel, and the duel's real cool. You know, but you want to be strong as well because you can get killed in that battle. But that's the reason why I really hate Akechi, and you about to see why.
No wonder you're the leader of the Phantom Thieves. You've caught up to me on this front already too. Of course not. But if we go any further, we'd both go beyond the point of no return, wouldn't we? In all honesty, I'd love to see just how far we can go. But we have an important mission coming up. Until that's finished, you're a vital ally to me. We're done here. Let's go.
Everything after that is gone to crap. Everybody finds out. You eventually get caught or whatever, and then that's where everything starts to change. You know, you eventually confess your crimes to Sai. Sai ends up helping you out. You never grabbed her treasure, so she didn't have a change of heart. But you end up in the interrogation room. You're getting beat up by these detectives. That's where it leads everything up to the current events. You want to have Sai help you out because then she shows Akechi this phone. So basically, I'm just going to cut down to the shorter version. Yeah, so this is a real long version of the game as well. So you basically want to, you want to have Sai understand what's going on in the real world. Or whatever, and you're trying to get her to help you out. She eventually has an item that's gonna help you try to basically deceive Akechi into thinking you're dying or whatever. So eventually it leads up to this crazy scene right here.
Huh? What are you?
I owe you for all of this. Thanks. That's right. You and your little friends were vital to our plan, and now it will be completed. Your popularity truly was quite stunning. That just made using you all the more worth. Have you finally pieced it all together? Case closed. This is how your justice ends.
So now with all that out of the way, eventually leads onto the seventh palace. You have this this cool, but before that you have this cool little battle with the Ketchy. He finally like snaps or whatever. I think, I believe that's in the seventh palace. That's not the sixth palace, so I apologize about that. The seventh palace is Shido's palace, which ended up being a ship palace or whatever. Shido is a huge politician. It's the same guy that the reason why you got in trouble in the first place, so you try to take him out as well, try to change his heart. But you eventually later on in the palace, as soon as you start working your way around the whole ship, and the ship is huge, you fight all these sub bosses or whatever. Eventually, when you get past all that, and I'm skipping all that, you eventually lead into this engine room where you fight this huge boss. He's like a mafia boss or whatever. You fight him, you take him out. You want to heal up right there, because then you're gonna probably get attacked by Ketchy, and that was a tough battle, a real tough battle. I had problems with him at first, especially my first playthrough. I had a tough time with him. In this playthrough, it wasn't as tough as well. It's still a tough battle, but it wasn't as tough because my persona was already powered up, so I was ready for him. Go through all that. Eventually, one thing I didn't like was that once a Ketchy gets killed, you basically have this like this is a huge problem what I had with the game, where everybody kind of feels sorry for him. I'm like, why are you guys feeling sorry for him? He basically tried to take you guys down. He tried to kill Joker. Why? I don't understand why everyone out of a sudden feels sorry for him or whatever. To me, that was the worst part of the game. I absolutely hated Ketchy. But other people might like that scene. I hated it because I was like, there's no way. I hated the dude. Like I said, he tries to basically take you out and try to mess up your whole life. So why would I like him or whatever? But eventually ends up leading to creating like ultimate persona. So as soon as you start ranking up, you get your confidence all the way up. They get at the end at their level 9, they eventually give you these strong personas, so you start making them. Alice was huge for me, especially in a boss battle, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, which was the most toughest, the hardest boss battle to me personally in the game. But we talk about that a little bit later. Like I said, you're starting to build up all your social stats, so you want to get everybody out the way. Eventually, you're not going to get every single person. But like I said, you want to be hitting up mementos as well. Start maxing out your confidence, your social stats, as well as your personas. So you want to start building up your personas, start giving them a level 60, 70, and 80 or stronger at the end. So once everything died down, once you take Shido's heart or whatever, you go back into mementos. So me, I'm a huge proponent and trophy. I'm a huge trophy guy, so I try to get all the trophies in any game I play. Eventually meet the Reaper. Now the Reaper is the hardest boss in the game. This dude does not play around. He is so strong. He could one wipe your team. Now there was a few times he probably killed me about 4 or 5 times, but there was this one part too where I had him down to literally, I say, about 25% health left. There was like 25% health left, and he wiped me. He wiped my whole team out with one attack. I just don't understand how, because I had his his you like I said, you get certain items to help you like increase your accuracy, your evasive skills as well, to where you could dodge attacks of incoming. So I had his health, I mean I had his health down, I had his attack down, I had his defense down, and he still one swiped me. So like I said, when you finally face the Reaper, and trust me, you're gonna know when you face the Reaper, Morgana will call it calling out. If you stay momentous for too long, you hear this chain, especially if you're standing still. So I know there was a lot of confusion on why on how to draw him out. So basically what you do, you can go to any level. I recommend going to like to like the easier levels, probably like the second level mementos. Go there, wipe out two or three enemies that you, because they could easily walk into you. Wipe them out and just stand right there if you want to battle him. But you want to be well prepared. You want to get your items, especially like power ups and power downs for the enemies, as well as power up for you. You want to get those. You want to have your personas. I recommend having your ultimate personas. You want to build them. I don't recommend fighting him with anything less than your ultimate personas, because like I said, he is the toughest boss battle in the game, guys. So with everything, let's finally talk about the ending. So like I said, this is Persona 5 Royale. So they added on a new palace, but before we get to that, let's just talk about like the original ending and this ending, since they're both the same. It's more of exams, you know, they try to get finally done with the finals exams. I should have mentioned this earlier. When you do the exams, you want to pass I highly recommend cheating, like going online, looking up the answers, because some questions are absolutely ridiculous, and even if you are real smart, you're not gonna know some of these answers, because some of them are like relatable to the game. There's like a guarantee, like who was the name of the person who did the guarantee, and what's the name of the person, like things like that. It's just crazy. So I highly recommend cheating. Especially like I said, if you're a trophy hunter, you're like me, you want to hunt down those trophies. But since this is the ending, so basically in the ending, you kids finally get to the ending, the metaverse. Basically, Igor, who was helping you out in the game, he's doing your rehab. He's basically gone mad. You find out later that he's and I'm just summing everything up. I'm not going down what happened like scene by scene, but basically he gone mad. The twins, he has the twins try to execute you. The twins finally come to their senses. Turns out that if you execute them, which is the persona thing that they use to fuse the personas, you execute them, they fuse back into the original things. He gone mad because in the last palace, there's a treasure that you can't get to. It's like it's in the prison. So so it was like right after Shido's there. So like the last thing is a prison. You basically try to take the treasure from mementos, but it's a big thing that you can't attack it because too many people don't believe in the Phantom Thieves. That's what's keeping the Phantom Thieves going. So if people don't believe in the Phantom Thieves, then everything goes downhill after that, and it's the end of the Phantom Thieves. So, and I just summed it up like real small. If I were to explain everything in this video, would be like 2 hours because how the game is. But then we start to see like Mona not acting right. She finally in the game, you know, she lost her memory. So the more you advance the story, the more she starts to gain her memory back. And then it leads on to, like I said, the prison. You finally get to the prison. You basically, the world gone to crap after that. And then it leads up to, you see a quarantine cell. You see old members or old people that you have taken down in the past. They explain what mementos is. You see a door, and then that door is gonna come into play a little bit later. But I'm not gonna talk about all that because I'm gonna let you guys check it out. If you checked it out, you guys know what door I'm talking about. But then it eventually leads down to everything going to crap. Like it's like the Holy Grail boss or whatever. So that's like ends up being real cute. It's real massive or whatever. You can't beat it. He actually destroys you in one attack. So then it leads on to another thing where it shows the whole world just being bloody, like completely destroyed, as you guys saw. But that's what happens. So then basically you end up dying. You end up doing a Thanos snap, and you guys end up disappearing, and that's where it lets everybody back into the Velvet Room, which is crazy too because nobody has been there except for you. So the fact that everybody wakes up in the Velvet Room, which is crazy. So then all that happens, and it was just a crazy moment in the game. And then that's where it leads to the big boss battle. But before all that, you walk up this stairway or whatever, and basically it's like walking up to the heaven gates or whatever. You get attacked by random big bosses. All of them are pretty cool actually, you know, being attacked. And then it finally leads on to this big epic last battle scene, which is crazy because there's this huge boss. So then at the eventually getting beaten, you have this cool epic moment where Joker finally evolves. Our scene comes down from the hell gates or whatever you want to call it. I went like this, like he was coming down from the heavens, but he was actually coming up, I guess, whatever you want to call it. So his Arsane transforms into Sayano, and man, it was probably one of the coolest moments. So funny about that is that I finally got to see that, because in the original one, I got stumped on the stairwell. So when I played it, the stairwells, because my personas wasn't strong enough, I was careless going into that, and I just couldn't get past the last persona because he kept wrecking me. But then finally my personas was real strong. I went in there with like level 80s, one level 90 personas, and the ultimate personas that you get with your confidence at the end of the game. Once you rank them out, or max them out, they give you strong persona. So I fused all of them before I went into that staircase, because I knew I also had a lot of items, so I was well prepared for health and all that. So I finally went in there and took them down, and it was one of the best moments, and you guys gonna see why.
Pillage him! Satanael! Let's go. Be gone.
Preposterous! You dare honor people's wishes!
Then after that, just when you think everything is over, I'm pretty sure in the original game everything ends, but in this one the story advances somehow because eventually it leads on to Christmas, and I'm not gonna dive straight all into Christmas because it's all corny happiness stuff as well as New Year's as well. But then it starts to get, speaking of New Year's, after New, or I think it was after New Year's, you go to this the shrine to go pray. You get invited by Kasumi Yoshizawa. You get invited by her, and then you start to see this craziness going around. And this is where I'm guessing this is where the new game, what they added onto the game, I guess the technical new semester and the new palace of whatever happens, because then you start to see people losing their minds, or you could tell it was like an ultimate reality, because some of the people that originally they showed them dying was alive or whatever. Even I was confused. I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, this person's supposed to be dead. Like, if for instance Futaba's mother died, but in the actual scene showed her alive, so I knew something was up right there. And then they were like reacting to it, like their head was hurting or whatever. So then it also showed, like, in one of the early on that I didn't talk about, which I left out, there was a scene where you were talking to Yoshizawa, then you seen this palace. So I know that palace was gonna be around. I just didn't expect it, because I was like, man, because we entered it, but we never infiltrated it. Yoshizawa too, like they showed her off in the trailers, in the early on part of the game, even on to the later game, you only got to mess around with her a few times. One of them was the casino battle. You get the battle with her, but overall, she was a pretty cool character. I like the stance that she had. I really wish they're gonna make a Figma, Max Factory makes a Figma out of her. It looks pretty cool. You know, I could put her in that pose. You know, she has that cool sword. It looks cool as well. But anyways, so that's what happens. And then I guess this is like the last, technically it's the last palace after that, because you find out that Akechi has survived somehow. He says to Joker, he's like, I can't believe that you actually think little of me, that I would die in that battle, which I still don't understand, because they still didn't explain how he survived the battle. And then it was the like I said, the alternate reality everybody was living on. You know, everything that everybody was complaining about there in the game, they were actually living the life. We find out that it was actually because Dr. Mariki, who's a fighter in the game, he's a therapist. I think he's new to the game. He talks to everybody, see what's their problems, and you know, he's a therapist. He does what therapist does. So then he has this I guess this power to where he could change reality. So that's what happened. And then Joker, who didn't get affected by it, tried to get everybody to snap out of it, and sure enough they did. Everybody cracked, and that's what leads on to this new palace. But now it's a new semester going around. But before that new semester, we find out more about Kasumi Yoshizawa. So we found out he actually tries to get you to actually keep the reality. There's an option whether if you want to keep it or change it back to how it previously was. So I choose the option to change it back. Maybe later on, because I have a save point. Maybe I go around to go see what's different and what's new. But Yoshizawa, we find out that Kasumi is not actually Kasumi at all. It's her sister. So she had, like, I guess a younger sister, which didn't make sense because they were like in the same grade. Like, they didn't really say that they were twins, but they were in the same grade, so they must be twins. I don't know. It just didn't make sense. But anyway, so we find out that her real name is Samoi. I don't know how to say her name. I'll probably just butcher that. But anyways, I'm just gonna call it Yoshizawa. So then we find out that Yoshizawa, wants to keep the reality because her sister, who is the real Kasumi, died because she got hit by a car trying to save um, her sister because she didn't like the life she was living. Her sister, which is Kasumi, the real Kasumi, was living this crazy life where she was a gymnastics, and she was jealous of her. So then she was tired of she was basically jealous of her. So she started running away towards the street. And then she noticed, because the real Kasumi noticed that she was gonna get hit by a car, so she threw her out the way and got hit by the car herself and ended up getting killed. So then Dr. Mariki, I know if you guys never played this game, this all sounds crazy, but Dr. Mariki ends up doing a reality change to where he gives her the option to have her live that fantasy that she is the real Kasumi, but it goes back to giving you the option whether you want to choose that reality for them because everybody seems happy, or go back to being miserable and how things was previously. So once again, I choose the previous route because just how the game is meant to be played or life is supposed to be, because I would love to go back in time to go change my wrongs, but I believe you learn from your wrongs. But that's what makes you stronger. But that was the end of that scene right there, and now on to the final part of this game. Said this before, so we find out everything starts hitting the fan, everything starts leaking out. So then it gets down to the palace, and then it's crazy too because I think Atlas, the game, the studio that made Persona, they didn't want to, like, I guess, spoil the story, because some games do this where they stop gameplay footage so you can't like share it or whatever. So I guess that's like, because this was a new palace, a new semester, so they stopped everything, so you can't really uh share it, like, because I like to do clips, I like to save clips, but I couldn't really do it. So it was crazy too, because even because I'm a trophy guy, so I go for a lot of trophies. So I like to like post my platinums when I get a platinum, because that's like the highest trophy you could get in any game or whatever. So I like to do that. It's kind of like an accomplishment. You beat every challenge that the game gives you. You get a platinum trophy. So even for my platinum, I couldn't even post a screenshot because they canceled out the gameplay footage, which I can understand, because that happens. I think that happened with the first Persona, or the original Persona 5, where they didn't want any of the streamers to play it. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. But anyways, so now this palace was pretty hard as well. Like I said, it's basically trying to end mementos, but in this alternate reality, Dr. Mariki is like the main guy. He's the reason why the alternate reality changed, and it led up to some crazy boss battles. In the boss battles, I had a real hard time facing him, like a real hard time. The palace itself was pretty easy, but when I got to his palace, it was super. No. When I got to the boss battle, it was kind of difficult, just because there was a super move in the boss battle. It's called the Megalodon. Once you get his health down real low, it's basically one shots your whole party, and it was kind of pissing me off because you didn't know when it was gonna come. So you just know that as soon as he says, I think he says, I'm not gonna lose or whatever, you know that you could probably get one or two moves in, and then he'll do that Megalodon, and no matter if you're prepared for it, if your team is full health, it's just gonna one shot you, especially in the harder difficulties. So that was kind of pissing me off as well. So I had like a tough battle with him. But not only that, it just kept it just kept going, because after you, because he has a persona, um and his persona just didn't want to give him up, and he didn't want to give up. So it was not only just that boss battle, it was multiple ones, which was pretty cool at the end of the day, but it was still a difficult palace. uh but yeah, so then it leads on to the end, which the ending was pretty cool. You know, Joker, eventually when you when you fight him, and the second time you fight him, his persona turns into this huge big monster. It was pretty cool. He tries to take you out as well. Um, that one was pretty easy, because that one, basically what I did was just physical attacks. Any magic attacks, he was basically eating it up. So I was just putting physical, and I guess if I could just say, my for the first palace I used Makoto, Ryuji, and Sarade. So I used Ryuji for electric, I used Makoto for her nuclear, and Sarade, I was using her just because she was pretty cool, and my persona was already strong. So all for her, it was just a dynamic duo, and we're just destroying everything. So the palace ended up being, I mean, it was difficult, but we ended up getting through it. The second battle was pretty easy, because I was just buffing up the crits, and just one-shotting. I was doing some real good damage towards the second boss battle. The third boss battle wasn't really like a boss battle; you just guard. But like I said, it was pretty cool. And then I guess the fourth one was a cool moment. But before that, there was a cool moment, like in the like earlier the sixth palace, where you know you one shot the persona, the god. This was kind of like the same thing. I didn't really get any footage or a photo of it, because I pressed X too fast. And in that game, you can't. It's not like they have auto saves where you can go back. But it was just Joker putting the gun and just pressing X and just shooting the persona in the head. It was a pretty cool moment. Then there was another cool moment where you're facing off against Mockery, um, uh, and you're punching each other. I think that was pretty cool as well. But the one thing I just hate about Persona is that they try to make you feel sorry for the people who just basically try to kill you. I know it's just kind of like a petty thing for me, but it's like, I wish there was an option, because there was an option towards the end where there was two options that they give you. You pick either or when he's trying to save, whether to save the person or not. But both of them was both basically the same option, was to save him. I kind of wished there was an option to just let him fall. Because once you get into a boss battle, I guess you're fighting on this icy platform. Then the thing breaks and you try to save him. So it gave you an option to save him. But it was basically just both options was saving him. There wasn't an option to let him fall or whatever. So that kind of sucks. But it is what it is. The same thing with kind of like a catchy. So whatever. But anyways, the game was amazing. I highly recommend it. Lot of studios gave it a 9 out of 10. Definitely deserved every praise that it gets. This game is amazing. Highly recommend checking it out if you guys haven't checked it out. If this video wasn't enough, because I'm not doing it justice just talking about it, you guys need to go check it out, man. This game definitely is amazing. Definitely a great time to play it, because literally there's nothing to do. And it's over 100 hours long. You're just gonna have a blast playing it. It's real easy to get into. It's turn based, so the combat's real easy, and it helps you out along the way as well. So you guys want to check it out, check this game out. Highly recommend it. I got a special video coming out dedicated to this video, because you guys know how much I love Persona. So hope you guys check that out. Hope you guys have a wonderful day and see you guys